I'm Nic Harcourt here for Spark Network, and 2020 has been a year of incredible upheaval, uncertainty, and change. And it's only August as we're actually recording this. But, one of the most exciting aspects of the last couple of years has been the mainstreaming of a number of movements aimed at equality and justice. The Me Too era raised very serious and important questions about how women are seen and treated or mistreated. And in this year of COVID-19, the Black Lives Matter movement has taken center with hope racial inequality and fair justice for all might just reach a tipping point. So with that in mind, I've invited two men who, although their paths have been different, I think share a lot of common ground. And my job right now is to facilitate a conversation about how success, perhaps the access that it brings, can be used for the greater good of their communities. We'll fill the folks in with a little more detail as we work our way through the conversation, but a quick setup here. Fantastic Negrito is a two-time Grammy award-winning musician. He grew up in Oakland, California, and let's just say his journey has been a little unorthodox. He's actively involved in his community and uses upcycling to make his stage gear. He's also an organic farmer. I should also let you know that his new album, Have You Lost Your Mind Yet?, is being released in just a few days. By the time you watch this, it'll be out. So go get wherever you get your music. Tyrone Ross was a track and field athlete who trained and competed in the 2004 Olympic trials and then shifted his focus to the world of finance, in particular blockchain and digital asset investments, which we're going to ask him a little bit about. And his career has been about providing access and building on-ramps for new investors, people who perhaps wouldn't ordinarily have the access to savings. So his goal is to use financial literacy to help end childhood hunger, homelessness, and poverty. So thank you guys for letting me do that long-winded introduction, but I wanted to make sure people knew a little bit about you. And why don't I start with Tyrone, if that's okay, and talk a little bit about your childhood and the experiences of your childhood that perhaps led you to this moment in time and what you're doing today.
Well, thank you again for having me. To be on with the Grammy winners is serious. The two times is even more serious. So I'm going to soak up this opportunity to go first. Again, I always talk about my childhood in this vein. The one thing that I'm incredibly proud of is I'm the first generation high school graduate in my family. And, my dad came to this country from South America, Guyana to be exact, illiterate. And literally with nothing. You hear all these tales of, oh, I came to America with $14 and now I run a business. My father had nothing. He had a jacket that was too small. The sleeves stopped like right here. He was 120 something pounds, met my mother who was 17 with a 9-month-old. And at some point they opted out of prosperity and simply opted into survival. I came along, 6 years later after my sister. And when you are growing up, and I was talking about this, when you grow up in an unbanked home, when you grow up when there's lack of education of all sorts, it brings all types of struggle that you become aware of. The main thing being scarcity, right? Scarcity of resources, scarcity of opportunity, right? Scarcity of a voice and being able to speak in a manner that is empowering for you and others. And but there was still a lot of love. There was still a lot of appreciation and gratitude that my parents put in me because that's all they had. But at some point, due to the lack of everything, they said, okay, well, the American dream is out of the question. We just need to opt into survival. We got to keep the lights on. We got to make sure there's running water. We have to make sure that, there's a place to live. And a lot of times, right, I tell people, I can't take you back to where I grew up. I don't have a hood because my neighborhood was wherever we could settle down for a while. So we bounced around from place to place, cars evicted, lights off, this, that, whatever. And one of the things that I think changed me for a while, there's an experience there, a short while, where I remember having to go to the bathroom in plastic bags and walk them out to the curb. That'll change you. There's a PTSD there, but it also gives you that PhD, poor, hungry, and driven, which is why I'm so driven to make sure that the impoverished, the marginalized, and the abandoned, abused, and neglected children in America have opportunity through my platform.
That's a great introduction, and I think once we hear from Xavier, fantastic Negrito, maybe we'll try and talk a little bit amongst ourselves, or you two guys in particular, about those shared experiences. Because Xavier, I know that you also are from a father who was an immigrant, right?
Yes, my father was an immigrant, and I thought I didn't ever hear anyone who had the plastic bag story except me. So we were already there. I'm like, damn, man, I need to hug you. I need to hug you, and we need to bond over that.
Yeah,
that's
put the
right
put the bag. Yeah, put the bag in the bowl, and absolutely.
Jesus, that's hardcore. Well, my background is as crazy as the fashion that I wear. It's just as crazy. My dad was born in 1905. My dad, he was older than my grandmother, my mother's mother. He was an immigrant, East African, Caribbean. You know, he told us all kinds of stories, but so I just go East African, Caribbean. He had an accent. Let's just say that. so you know, he came up at a time where it was, people couldn't imagine what it was like for Black men. They didn't even call them men, you know. So he met my mother, who was 33 years younger than him.
Wow.
Yeah, which, you know, shook up her whole family. They were like Southern Baptist people. My dad came in with Islam, and she converted to Islam, and 14 kids later, you know, because one thing about religion, man, religious people say God is telling them to have babies, you know. So, I don't know why he's always telling them that. But so anyway, I'm like the 8th of 14 kids, and it was just, I was listening to your story, man. Like, I didn't grow up with, I got some of the foundation and the fundamentals, especially coming from an immigrant, which I'm sure you know. That is no excuses, no BS. You're gonna make it happen. Even if you're poor. I grew up with more of neglect because 14 kids? You can't do it unless you're living, you know, in another country somewhere, or if you want to join the Mormons.
Yeah.
Got a couple different moms and stuff. You could do that, but by the time I was 12, I opted out. My dad wanted to kick me out, and I ran away, and you know, I never saw my dad again. That's one of the sad things that I had to come to terms with, because he died in that period. And I ended up in foster care, group homes, and it was some of them were extremely abusive. And there's so many things that a 12-year-old kid that I witnessed and experienced that no child should have to experience. But hey, that immigrant upbringing, it saved me from a lot of things, man. I remember, like, okay, should I do this drug? I'm right here. Should I smoke this sherm? You know, it's dipped in PCP. I remember all those times. So should I try this? Should I shoot up? That upbringing, as dysfunctional as it was, I always heard my father's immigrant voice in the back of my head. So that foundation was very American. You know what I mean? In a strange sense, people wouldn't think that they don't often identify America as that, or you know, or his experience, but it's all kind of very American. It's the American experience that flies very low on the radar. People aren't aware of it. People don't know about it. And so then when you tell people that you're suffering and you're going through all these things, they don't believe you. I've had people they go like, come on, man. The police stop you, and why don't you? It's not different. It's you're imagining that it's different. Like, and they mean well. They're not mean people. They mean well, but they don't know that side of America, which is the side of America that keeps this whole thing going. It's the people that are immigrants, that are the poor people, that are doing the jobs that you don't really get noticed. You don't really get gratitude. You don't get appreciation, but it is the fuel of the engine in this country. So, you know, that's my upbringing. It was like dysfunctional immigrant home with a guy that was old enough to be my grandfather as my father, and then I went into this the foster care system, which is horrific. But the last family that I was with, they were amazing. So I was fortunate, and so that experience was going to inform the rest of my life. And that was a lot of that tragedy was a lot of gold. And now that I can share it with people when they're going through stuff.
Well, you share it obviously through music and what you write, and I want to talk about that a little bit more. But just to sort of facilitate this a little more, Tyrone, I mean, you became an athlete, right? Did you become an athlete because you needed an outlet? Was athleticism your outlet from your world?
You know what's funny? That's a really good question, because if I'm 6'2" and some change, but my parents are short, right? So it's not like you can look at my parents and be like, oh my God, he won the genetic lottery. But what I got forced into sports, and one of the things that happened through it was an opportunity to go to college. I didn't know what college was, but I just so happened to have this talent in track that, my high school track coach, who was also one of my teachers at the time, and he's like a second dad to me now. He was like, you know what, you should run track. And I'm like, no, I really don't want to run track. So I started running track. And, at 16 years old, I fell in love with it. Literally. I was like, this is something, because you got to understand. And this is what I always tell people: when you grow up with nothing, you need anything to hold on to. Anything to hold on to. What is going to pull me out? Is it me writing music? Is it me drawing? Is it something, this inner calling that's greater than my pain, that I answer every day, that numbs me enough to deal with the pain that I know is not going away? But whatever this is, just drawing me, right? It's literally calling me. Numbers, right? Songs, melodies, a talent, a gift. So at 16 years old, I'm watching the Atlanta Olympics, and I'm like, I want to do that. Now I was the farthest thing from an Olympian you could be in America, right? But I'm like, I want to do that. I had no idea how. I knew nothing, but I was like, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And then the next thing you know, I start getting all these colleges, and I get recruited to go to college, but my gift put me somewhere I wasn't prepared for, which is why I got kicked out of college, because I didn't even know that it was a thing, right? I signed my letter of intent to go to Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I'd never left home before. I'd never been anywhere. I didn't know that Georgia Tech was in Atlanta. But I was like, the coach he just had this warm feeling, and I was drawn to him, and that decision changed my life, even though it came with a little bit of pain at first. So track then became an outlet. I'm like, all right, if I can be really good at this will help me get my family out, right? I'll get famous. I'll get the endorsements and Nike and everything. So it did start to become that. I was supremely driven, almost maniacal, to make it come true. And it didn't. And now that brokenness from that experience has been poured into everything that I've been doing ever since. Not without depression, not without mental illness and attempted suicide. But now that I'm able to say, all right, I've got that experience, now I can pour all of that into the world. And now it's starting to manifest that I was supposed to be where I am. I wasn't supposed to be there.
It's interesting, like moments of inspiration and people who come along, people who are in your pathway, who maybe let you know that there is another way. And I know that, with Fantastic Negrito, it was Prince, right? When you saw Prince, that was like, oh, maybe I can do this. And I know that you had an attempt at a music career that didn't happen, and we probably don't have too much time to get into it right now, but you were also somebody who, wanted to do something, and first time out, it didn't work. And then you came back to it. And I guess if I can use this third time.
It's my third time back.
Okay. So I want to ask you both, and maybe you can talk to each other about this as well. Having failed, so to speak, I mean, everybody who's succeeded will tell you, you have to hit the wall a few times and get the shit kicked out of you a couple of times, Yeah. And then perhaps you're ready for success. So, coming to you, Fantastic Negrito, as a musician now who's got 2 Grammy-winning albums, is about to release the next one. And then as you, Tyrone, who has transitioned into this financial world, what do you want to bring from those past experiences to the work you do today, and how can you share them to inspire others and to, you know, bring hope to communities that perhaps don't have it?
Well, first of all, like Tyrone, I mean, I love your testimony, man. It's beautiful. And it's so valuable, and it's so necessary and so needed. So I just want to first say I appreciate your voice. But I have a saying, man. I'm like, I don't want anybody on my team that hasn't failed. I don't want anybody on my team that hasn't had hardship. You know, I don't want anybody on my team that they're going to be surprised when all of a sudden it's not going your way. All of a sudden it's not, there's tension, and it, you know, that tension won't break you if you have been tested. And I'm much older than Tyrone. So at 52, it's like, you know, I've seen it all. I've been through it all. Of course, my first deal was $1 million deal. I got $1 million advance, and from a guy named Jimmy Iovine, who's quite known right now. But putting on a record as a kid back then, and then it not happening, because I was like a young kid, like Tyrone had said, like, oh man, I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna help my family do all those things. I was able to help them with that money, actually, but I wanted fame. I was thirsty, man. I wanted the best women, best cars, best whatever, drugs. Even if I sold them, I wanted the best everything, best food. At that age, you're like a complete self-absorbed narcissist, which could be healthy too in a way, but it was not healthy for me. So when I failed at that, boy, that was depressing. That was hard. And I thought, wow, how could this have happened? That was my dream. And I thought I was going to be famous, and I wasn't. What got me out of that was the second thing was I was in a coma for 3 weeks. I was in a near fatal accident, which took away my playing hand, you know, which is pretty mangled up. But I tell you something, that was another test, because I was like, hey, do you really want to play? Do you really want this? So for people out there, I'm sure Tyrone can attest to that, though, the things that you know, make you feel bad, the things that you fail at, it's only temporary. Because I quit music after my accident for 5 years. I sold every instrument that I had. So you can not only can you fail, but you can quit. Yep. You can walk away from it. It doesn't mean that it's permanent. And, you know, my story, I love that it does inspire people, young and old, like, and they never too late. If a freak like me can, you know, walk out into the street, you know, in his mid-40s and start playing the guitar and make a career happen, then you can too. Because the only way I could do it was because of the experiences, you know, that I had. Because I've been knocked around, I've been knocked on my ass. I mean, this COVID-19, I'm almost like, okay, it's another thing we're gonna go through. Because hey, a lot of people who had a heart, a lot of black folks were like, what? No money coming in? It's tough. We don't know
what's new?
Meals coming. It's like shit. What are you talking about? That's how it is a lot of times. And so again, I can't ever say that enough to people, like younger people who come into the band. Like, hey man, you may have made it here not because you're the best player, because even if you have the most skills, even if you're the most skilled person, that doesn't guarantee anything. Nope. What matters is drive. Mm-hmm. What matters is your desire to contribute. And I know this is very un-American. What matters is, do you want to live for other people? Yes, I do. That changed my life. When I started living, I want to live for other people, because I live for this guy, and he's a mess.
100%.
This dude, he wants everything. You know what I mean? I'm holding this dude back with a shotgun. Like, this dude, stay back. I got to put my energy into other people. When I was wanting to be famous all that time, it didn't happen because I wanted everything.
Yep.
But as a grown ass man in my 40s, I was like, man, I'm just trying to I need therapy. I'm in midlife crisis. Oh my God, I got married. What did I do? Oh my God, I got kids. Give me that shit. It's over. Let me just sing about it. And then everything came.
Well, first of all, before I answer, if that is 52, I need whatever the hell you growing. Okay. Send me some. I need whatever you are growing. I need to start right now.
Send it over.
Hook you up.
so let's get that out the way immediately.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, and I just wanted the tail end of what you said is so true, because deep depression and after, you know, I bought the ticket to end my life that morning in 2012 and 2013. I said, you know what? From this day on, I'm giving my life away. Every single day, I'm giving my life away. I'm pouring it into other people. I tried it my way. It didn't work. It literally drove me one morning to literally say, I'm going to throw myself in front of a truck. I want to die. So I'm done with that. And then literally that year, anybody that I could think of, I wrote them a thank you card. Thank you for this. Thank you for that. In 2013, and ever since, I was like, you know what? Every breath that I breathe is going to be about putting something into other people. And it's so funny. Here's how ordained and anointed this meeting is right now. Connor, who actually got me here to be able to speak to you guys, and he was at a conference that I spoke. I had a keynote, and I was addressing the audience on giving. And at that conference, I was raising money for abused, neglected, and abandoned kids in Florida that were in foster homes. And the goal was to get all of these stodgy, rich, you know, people that were down there to pat each other on the back, to care about the 20% of poverty in Florida. And it's just so funny. I walk out on that stage and I pour my heart out. And he took some beautiful pictures that are up on my Twitter, right? My Twitter avatar. And then again, just the anointed purpose leads me here to you and in your background. So this is not an accident, but that's exactly what happens when you say, all right, I'm going to use my failures. I'm going to use my weaknesses. I'm going to use all of my shortcomings, and I'm going to turn them into strengths for somebody else. And I'll end on this note. I do a ton for kids, and I've always gone to inner cities and talking. It's funny. I rarely could tell the story without getting emotional. And I was at this program for inner city kids here in Newark, New Jersey, and we were leaving the program, and one of the kids, you know, he's walking next to me, and again, they were so excited on a presentation I gave about, and it was about finances, money, and stocks and all that. And we came to a light, and he looked at me. He said, "Mr. Ross," he said, if you could be a superhero, right, and you can do anything, what would you do? And I started to get really emotional, and I said, if I could be a superhero or anything like that, I would heal people's pain. I would try and just reach into every person and pull pain out of them. And the reason I said that was because I know I literally could never do that. But what I could do is pull the pain out of me and put that into the world to heal other people that are broken, because healing comes from broken people. Answers come from broken people. Building comes from broken people. Structure comes from broken people. The answers, right, to struggle, the condemnation, to marginalization, to criminalization, all of that comes from broken people. Broken people heal what was destroyed. And we need nothing more than that in this country right now. So if we are going to get fixed, it is going to come from failures. It is going to come from broken people. It is going to be from people with no fathers and drug addicts and addiction, because those are the people that are used and have fought. And that's the thing about a fight. You can beat me up, but if I never put my hands down, I'm going to get a lick in. But I can't put my hands down. The minute I put my hands down, I stop fighting. So those of us that have been through this struggle got to tell people, keep your hands up. Keep your damn hands up and fight. And when you fight, you'll get through it. And I'm gonna get bruised. But the thing is, I live to fight another day. And we have to use our experience to make sure that person that does want to quit, say, all right, I watched this. I watched those two. I got to fight today. And I'm going to fight tomorrow until I'm a Grammy winner, right? And then I win another Grammy. So that's kind of how I look at it. We got to use that pain, that passion, that purpose, reconfigure it and put it back into the world.
Absolutely, man. Because we may be living in, they call it the age of information, but I call it the age of pain.
Yep, 100%.
There's just so many people screaming slogans.
Yep.
That they basically, you watch media, whether it's left-wing media, right-wing media, like whatever media you watch, that, people are telling you like what to think. They're telling you what to say, like what position you should have. And I think that it's really suffocating people's creativity. And I wanted to add to that list of broken that the most important thing, one of the most important things that comes from broken people is music.
Yeah, and for sure.
You know, being African Americans, I mean, there's a reason why I go to Spain, Germany, France, Belgium, Sweden, Brazil, Argentina, Morocco, and there's hip hop music and there's soul music. And you can be in Norway and there's the jazz festival. You know what I mean? You can be in Germany drinking the best beer in the world up in the mountains above Nuremberg, and there is a blues festival. And one of the things that I've learned traveling so much is that, wow, all this music that the world loves that came from the diaspora, basically. Mm-hmm. And it all came from this very broken, dark legacy in our country. And it makes me proud to be from the tradition that we all came from, because now at this point in this age of pain, there's so much that we can contribute. You know, I got a saying, take that bullshit, turn it into good shit. I feel like that's my mantra. Like, I got a song I call the bullshit anthem. But I always say, like, if there was something that someone was going to put on my grave, that's it, because it's just so simple. Yeah. And it's so effective, and it's such a great way to communicate with people, because who doesn't have to deal with bullshit? Name one person. I don't care who you are. At work, married, yep, friends, whatever. At the county, what do they call where rich people go? The country club, wherever. There's always going to be bullshit. And by the way, the way where my brain is now, I'm like, hey, you know what? We collectively in the world, we decided somewhere along the way that we thought it was cool to give all of the power in the world to billionaires and corporations. So to get a lot of this help, those are the people we're going to have to talk to now. Yeah, we have certainly handed, the power in the world to about 2,500 people. I think there's only 2,500 of them, and we seem to get this this thrill out of making them and keeping them billionaires. Because quite frankly, they could solve all the problems of the world tomorrow.
100%.
And then we'd spend the money again, and then they could go back to being billionaires. But I just feel that way, that all these problems could really be solved, and they can be. I don't want to say could, they can be by putting our collective hearts and minds together and go talk to our billionaire friends.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but these are the conversations that starts to illuminate that, right? And makes it real to them. And that's the thing about those of us that, and I'm speaking for Black people now, those of us that get into these rooms with the Jimmy Iovine's, right? For myself, that gets in rooms with, the Jim O'Shaughnessy's and all these people that have generational wealth. We don't then point the light on the issues. Let's stay away from the symptoms. Let's go deal with what the true issue is. Let's get to the people in need, right? If we don't start to illuminate the issues and say, no, this is where that money needs to go. This is where that empowerment needs to go. If we don't do that, we're complicit, right? And I think right now what you're seeing is through these platforms and us connecting and a lot of other conversations that I've had, if we're not going to do it now, it's never going to happen, because we know who have the money. There are a lot of people, there's a lot of people, that are connected to these people one way or another. We use their platforms, we go to their conferences, we use their products, whatever. It's like we need to start speaking for the common man and woman now. And if we don't do that, we're all complicit. But I think this is the moment in time where that changes. And I said it on, I do these live talks on my Twitter, and I was saying it the other night. If there's a man in this country that could be worth $100+ billion, God bless him. But what there also needs to be is a man or woman that can create that same impact through philanthropy and through giving and through gratitude. That can happen, period. And it should happen, because we've raised a whole bunch of capitalists with no empathy.
Oh, exactly.
Now, but now we can, re-engineer that, and there should be somebody just as powerful. I don't care about the riches, but they should be just as powerful and have that much impact on the world based on their ability to be charitable, to be philanthropic, and to give.
Let me ask you both, if I can, to sort of bring this to this moment. and ask each of you, obviously through music, fantastic, Negrito, you are delivering a message. And Tyrone, through your work in the financial world, you are obviously using the tools that you are working with to try and empower people. Maybe I could get both of you just to answer this last question, and that is perhaps Tyrone, you can start. Where do you see this moment? I mean, do you feel that this is an opportunity that we can take to get to evolve, to get to the next place? And then maybe Xavier, you can follow it up, as well with your own opinion on that.
I think something happened last night that is a perfect example of that. To say yes, if you look at what happened in Chicago here in the U.S. last night. All of those poor people, again, from the South Side, decided to go where everything was nice and sweet and tear up and started looting. Again, I said this before. I don't care how you feel about looting, but when those people do that, and I think we all agree it's heinous, but what is that is a mirror of America looking at itself and saying, this is a whole group of people that we failed, that they're finding their identity in a God, Apple. They destroyed Apple. They destroyed Tesla. All of these brands that we've put it's the idolatry is amazing, as opposed to talking to these young kids and telling them, you want a Tesla, it comes out of you. You want a Rolex, it comes out of you. A Grammy comes out of you. It comes out of your development and your values. So yes, this is the moment, because no one's safe anymore. It's coming to people's backyards, and it's real. And it's our failures are on Front Street to empower, to expose, to educate our youth. And one of the things that I'm on now is the 1G movement. What can we do in one generation to change America? That's all I'm on. One generation. What can we do? Who can we inspire? What leader can we go grab? What can we do in our cities to protect the people, right? How can we start loving on the elderly and respecting our elderly as we should in this country? How can we start getting back to loving our veterans and the people that put their life on the line, to whether you want to kneel, stand, crawl, whatever it is, you have a right to do it because they fought for this country. What do we do for children that are abused, neglected, abandoned, that didn't choose their situation? One generation. What can we do? What can you pull out of yourself? Can you put yourself aside for a second and put it into the world right now? Because we need it. So yes, we absolutely can. And the bottom line is this platform with the three of us on the screen is it. Someone is going to watch this and turn it off and go, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not. I can't wait anymore. And this is what I've been saying to people. We cannot wait anymore. I'm not waiting. I'm not waiting on the government. I'm not waiting on a group of people, an advisory board, a committee. I'm not waiting. If it needs to be done, I'm going myself. And when you lead by example and you say, you know what, I'm going to go through whatever wall it takes. I will bleed, I will crawl, I will cry. But when you do that, you get people behind you. So this needs to be a revolution. We need to take to the streets for everything else. Financial literacy, clean water, fresh food, opportunity, access, education. We should go to the streets for that. And when we do that, then people are going to go, oh, wait a second, right? These are the things that we need to be fighting for. So yes, this is that moment in time. We will look back 20 years from now in 2020 and say, you know what? It was a silver lining to that, right? We didn't waste that struggle. And now we've come together as a country and we've made a shift in financial education. We've made a shift in poverty. We've made a shift in literacy. And everything else that this country is, right? I heard someone describe America as a third world country with a Gucci belt, right? Somebody told me that the other day that they tweeted it or whatever, but it's
the Gucci belt's made in China.
Exactly.
It's a knockoff.
So it's like if people are just tweeting this and putting out these memes, like the people have spoken. They know what America is. We are literally acting as if, and we've been caught with our pants down, and it's time to do better. And I do think this moment in time will be a revolution in this country. But again, those of us that are forces for good got to continue to fight the forces of evil.
Xavier, I want you to jump in on this as well, but I also want to just sort of throw in the possibility because, we're in America, which is, up until recently has been the inspiration for the world. I think people are feeling a little bit differently outside of the United States now. And, you can do the research, you can do the numbers, but, it's pretty clear that we have a very small percentage and a disproportionate impact on the world. Not even talking about COVID. So does America still have that leadership role?
Well, I want to say this. I played 6 continents last year, and I've been on tour for 5 years. And the most asked question that I get, this is the first time I've actually been home in 5 years, is people in every country. What is going on in America? Go to the next country. What is happening in America? Next country, same accent. What is going on in America? So I want to say that it has nothing to do with COVID, that we've literally been unraveling. I say in my crazy mind, 40 years. That's what I say. We've been slowly unraveling, but I think people have only really started to take notice probably in the last 4 years, because we seem to be saying the complete opposite of everything that we said that we represented. I also want to say this, that Tyrone, you were asking, you're like, where are we going to get this from? My idea, this new generation, because I have the exact same feeling about creating a new generation. 5-year-olds.
Yep.
5-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 5-year-olds.
Get them young.
If we get to them, I
Yep.
have 5-year-olds. That's why. If we can help program them, oh my God, it's gonna be beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that we can. I think that what we lack, I think collectively, it's just the will. And as Tyrone is saying, we need people like him on the front line that will not take no for an answer. And I just did an interview, the Grammy workshop right before you guys. They're like, what's the quality, the skill that people need? They want all these answers. And I was just like, you just got to not take no for an answer.
Yep.
That is perseverance, drive, desire, will. Those are the things I think in this moment that people need to navigate. In this moment, again, I'm older, so I remember the 70s. And I remember Black Power in the 70s. And I remember my brother came home with a Black Power shirt on. My father's an immigrant. And there's some things your parents say and your grandparents say, and they stay with you forever. My father's sipping his coffee because he owned his own business. That's what immigrants did. In his restaurant, I'm little, he goes, Black Power. What does Black Power mean? Black Power is owning your own business. He's like yelling that at my brother. My brother's like, I hate Dad. He's an ass. But now my brother's a history professor, and he goes, Black Power is owning your own business.
Absolutely.
It's so real, man. And I think that I saw the slogans. I saw the afros. I saw people spraying Black Power, and nothing changed. Mm-hmm. I see people writing Black Lives Matter, and I'm with them, and I support them, and there's one missing component, and that is exactly what my dad said, that if you don't have your own businesses and you're a financial guy, Tyrone, maybe you'll come in and assist me or shut me down. I'm humble on something. I can talk music, but if you don't own your own business, you don't own your own means of productions. If you're not getting your people into the city council, into the mayor's office to hire and scrutinize police, if you're not doing your part, you can defund the police, but if we do our part. Police brutality is real. Trust me, man. I've been taken in the back of store by police. I can go into all that. It's real. It's definitely harder for us people of color. But one thing is this: we got to do our part too.
100%.
We have to do our part. And Tyrone, and I say it, and I sense that you're saying it, that if you don't have that, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. You know what I mean? And so we need to learn how to get to the table. And I have a thing called Revolution Plantation, which I'm going to turn to a nonprofit. But the problem is, maybe I'll get your information and talk to you, Tyrone, is that some of the people are saying, oh my God, that name, Revolution Plantation, they're not going to fund you. I remember people said the same thing about Fantastic Negrito.
Exactly.
They were like, we don't want you, they're like, white people don't like saying Negrito. It makes them uncomfortable. And I'm like, just like I'm saying now, maybe we need to be uncomfortable a little bit.
Exactly.
And I mean white people, and I mean black people, and I mean all of us. When I'm writing music, man, I'm thinking I only write for my kids. I only started being Fantastic Negrito for my kids. I saw I had a son. I'm like, damn, what am I going to tell him? I grow weed now. Shit. I better get back to playing music because I was growing a lot of weed. And I was moving all kinds of stuff. But I was like, okay, I'll do it for him. So the main thing I think of every song, every title, I'm thinking accountability and healing. Accountability and healing, man. That's like my marriage. It's an odd couple. But it can work, you know, those two. And not only can it work, it needs to work. Like we need those two things. So when you ask me, is it going to happen? I'm an elder here. I'm telling you, I've seen this movie. And it didn't end happy. I'm here in West Oakland, where Huey Newton was killed right down the street, you know, buying drugs. So that's a tragedy. It didn't end well. The thing that I see as the older guy is that I'm glad I'm talking to a finance person, because that's what we need. We can do this too. Remember I told you we gave those we're like, billionaires, we love you. Oh, look, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Oh, this person's a billionaire. We're happy. But if they're a billionaire, all they're doing is taking money out of your community, your pockets, your schools, your pensions, your jobs going overseas. That's all that they're doing. So if we could, as Tyrone said, leadership. And Tyrone, you may be the leader. I'm looking at you and I'm listening to you. I'm like, damn, I vote for this dude. So it's like, we need to support people like Tyrone who have the mouthpiece, who have the experience, and who have got their ass kicked a few times in life and they didn't fold. Yeah. These are the people that we need. I know my interview. These are the people that we need. You know, this is what we need right now, so we can have that accountability. So just like they have Chinatown, we can have Africa Town. We can have Black Town. We can have our 100%. Own do for ourselves. Then we can raise our children and give them the tool belt, is what I call it, to deal with the police. The first thing my father, and I say the word father, immigrant, again, if the police ever stop you, you never argue with them. They will blow your head off. I was 6. I'm like, what? Come again, sit down. What do you say? You say, yes, sir. You say, no, that immigrant was just, man, God bless him. He wasn't perfect, but man, he gave me those tools. Like, you can do it. You're a man. There's racism, but guess what? We about to fight this shit. We about to deal with it. Police will treat you differently. Have the tools. Don't let the police determine your life. Talking shit to them. Man, you're black. You can't talk shit to the police. Sorry. You can. A pretty white girl can, but we can't. So we got to teach that to our kids. When I see a lot of these videos, which are horrible, I see that's one of the things missing. Is that somewhere in our community, which is broken, we are forgetting to give our kids the tools. And if billionaires and if good white people like yourself and other people want to help, this, in my humble opinion, that's the help we need. And I will turn it to Tyrone because he's the money man. We need the money man.
No,
I need money.
Absolutely. I know we're gonna lose you soon because you got to go back to being famous. But I do want to add on that economic empowerment, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. And you hear it thrown around, but the truth is, again, planting seeds in fertile soil.
Yes.
Right? And that's what's important. And the basics of banking and finance in our communities. 70% of Black communities in America do not have a bank branch. 70%. So so you can do all this other stuff. 10% of Black boys and girls in America in 8th grade can read at level. 10% of all Black boys and girls in America. These are the things that need to be addressed. If you're not addressing that, I don't care how much Netflix has said they're going to donate, right? So we need to start planting seeds in fertile minds and fertile communities. And until we do that, again, that 1G movement. And it's funny, and why I wanted to say that to you, research has shown that by 7 years old, a child's financial habits are set for life. Set. So if you do go, they can start learning the concepts at 3. It's locked in by 7. So why are we still starting personal finance classes at seniors in high school? Makes no sense. So we have to start going younger, and especially in the Black community, where we have been disenfranchised and cut out, I have to make sure I take my ass there and let those kids know this is what I do. This is how you do it. But also, I'm not leaving until you have books, until you have technology, until you have Wi-Fi, until you're fed. And then also, we're going to continue to bring in people who look, walk, talk, and act like you to inspire you, right, all along your journey, so that you realize it's just an expectation I'm going to end up there as opposed to a hope. So once we do that, again, hope is not a strategy.
I want to connect with you because that one generation, that's what my whole concept is with Revolution Plantation. And, you know, maybe there's a way that we can work together. I think that you're brilliant, man. You're young and your future looks ridiculous, man. Just by, I didn't know who you were really. I mean,
I know now.
Last time, but now I'm like, damn,
now you know.
Listen, all I need is like a 5-second cameo in the music video so I can wave to my mother.
There you go. He can make that happen.
And we can do whatever you want.
Hey, Nick, connect us though. Connect us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you guys should
together, man.
You guys should continue the dialogue for sure. You know, if I can just sort of wrap it up with this. First of all, thank you, because the passion that I hear from both of you, I feel like there are many more men like you out there with this passion. And that if we can bring it back to education, it has to come back to education, because that is the key tool. You talk about 5-year-olds, you talk about being, you know, set by 7. If we're not doing this with kids when they're 4 and 5, then we're behind the 8 ball before we've even started. So education, and then ongoing is obviously organization.
Yes.
Education and organization. So if I could just sort of finish up with that and just thank you guys. Please keep talking. I know I'll be talking to you both separately at some point in the not too distant future.
Yeah,
Tyrone,
definitely.
an absolute pleasure, man.
Absolutely.
Xavier, always, man.
I'm just, yeah,
And anybody, this is my David Letterman moment. And anybody who's watching this should know that Have You Lost Your Mind Yet is available now. Do you like that?
I love it. Love it. I love it, man. Yeah, thank you guys. And,
thank you guys.